Handwriting is a basic human skill that we use in our everyday lives, whether it be to write a grocery list, to sign a piece of paper, or to write in a journal. However, many individuals in school struggle with handwriting, causing a learning difficulty. Learning difficulties affect 10 to 16% of the population and are non-categorical. Handwriting is just one basic academic skill that falls under learning difficulties. This video aims to aid you in understanding the strengths and challenges of students with this learning difficulty and will address concerns, findings, and issues relating to the diverse needs of these students. Handwriting is a very complex skill and may cause frustration and distress when the skill is not mastered by children. This can ultimately affect their desire to write. These students tend to have difficulties with accurate and fluent expression in their writing, poor spelling, and find it hard organizing information that is stored in memory. What's the result? Well, the written product is usually hard to read and filled with errors. The writing also does not convey what the child intended to write or what they know. That would be extremely frustrating. Having a learning difficulty in handwriting is not the result of a child being lazy. It is a brain-based issue. It's important to understand that slow or sloppy writing from a child doesn't mean they aren't trying their hardest. Writing is required by a complex set of motor and language processing skills. Without support, strategies, and tools to help a child with this learning difficulty, they may have a hard time getting through school. Common areas that children tend to struggle in are basic life skills, social emotional areas, and academics in school. But why does this concern me? What obligations do teachers have to do with students that have learning disabilities or difficulties? Well, teachers actually have an obligation under the Disability Standards for Education 2005 to ensure that all students with disability are able to participate in the everyday learnings of the classroom on the same basis as their peers through dignified, rigorous, and meaningful learning programs. This applies to all educational settings and contexts, including specialist schools and support classes. According to Students with Disability, the Disability Discrimination Act 1992 and the Disability Standards for Education 2005 are intended to give students with disability the same rights as other students, including the right to education and training on the same basis as students without disability. Although this obligation is targeted at students with disabilities, teachers have an obligation to make their classroom inclusive for all students, including those with learning difficulties. So what can I do if I notice a student that may have a learning difficulty? Take notes. If a student may be susceptible to a learning difficulty, it is in their best interest to address it immediately. So how do we know if a student may be susceptible to a handwriting learning difficulty? Signs of poor handwriting skills often appear first in early childhood. The signs may not become apparent until late primary school or early high school, and sometimes they go unnoticed entirely. The earlier a learning difficulty is recognized and addressed, the better. A student who has illegible or poor writing may experience physical pain when forced to write. They may even hold the pen or pencil in an odd way, struggle with aligning their wrist and body to the paper, and appear distressed before, during, and after the activity. They also may need significantly more time than their peers, and their efforts may not always be successful. Teachers should also examine written work for students with illegible or poor handwriting. In work samples, you may commonly notice an inconsistent use of capital and lowercase letters, poor spelling, missed or misused punctuation, and a difficulty with keeping letters on the line. Some students may also be born with a hand deformity and will need extra support and assistance when it comes to the skill of handwriting in general. It is important to be aware that a student with handwriting difficulties may actually have a handwriting disability, for example, dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is a specific learning disability in written expression. If you think a student may be susceptible to dysgraphia, get them tested sooner rather than later, so that the support they need can be put into motion. Formal and informal diagnostic tests can be conducted to decide whether a child has a handwriting difficulty. Informal tests include a child being identified by a school psychologist who specializes in learning disabilities. They will give a child a variety of tests relating to the skills in the following areas: the mechanics of writing, for example grammar, spelling, and punctuation; thematic, for example evaluating skills like word usage and the ability to organize a narrative; and fine motor skills. During testing, the professional will ask the child to write.
Created using Powtoon.